There is a moment in every life when you decide to rise, to stand taller than your fear, to speak louder than your doubt, to chase the vision that sets your soul on fire. This is that moment. And here, we walk it together with stories that awaken, voices that inspire, and truths that set you free. This is Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald, where hope has a voice, and that voice is yours. And welcome to the show, everybody. My name is Kevin, and Brichelle is right there. And Brichelle was telling me earlier that the particular guest that we're having on today, she's been looking forward to talking with for some time. So I'm going to turn it over to Brichelle and have her introduce our guest and talk about that a little bit. Brichelle, are you ready?
Yep, I'm ready. Thank you, Kevin, for the honor of being able to do that. Today we have a very special guest, as we always do. Each one of us are special, and we're here for a specific reason. And our guest today understands that. If you go to her website, which is shadowcornerlifecoaching.com, the first thing you see is welcome to your new beginning and embrace the journey that lies ahead. She has so much knowledge and so much experience in helping people in so many ways of life. So welcome today, Sayen. How are you?
I'm good. How are y'all doing today? Thank you.
Good.
That was some introduction, don't you think?
Yes, I feel honored. I feel charged up. Let's go.
It's true.
It is. So Sayen, tell us a little bit about yourself and your background and how you got to be where you are today. And now I just did want to mention that you used to be a phlebotomist, which are you familiar with John Edward?
I don't think so.
He is a psychic medium. He's out of New York. He did Crossing Over on TV and some other stuff. He started out his role as a phlebotomist. I'm even surprised I can even say that word, which means you took people's blood. That's what you did for a living for a while.
You're not scared of me anymore? You sure?
No, I'm scared of needles. Actually, I don't mind needles as long as it's not forever. But in any event, it's great to have you here. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay. So my name is Sayen Gates. I'm sorry, I have to say the legal name now. My name is Sayen Gates Butler because I officially got married June 28th of this year. So I am.
Hold on.
Go girl.
Thank you. What's the best way that I can describe? I will describe myself on a personal level. I am a geeky person and teenager at heart, but I'm stuck in an adult body. So that's the retrospect of me personally. But when I'm not in that type of, when I'm not wearing that hat, I am what you call a shadow life coach, also known as a shadow work coach. So I specialize in helping individuals deconstruct and reconstruct how they think of themselves and others. And my whole entire goal is to make the world aware again, not only of their strengths and weaknesses, but bringing their authentic self to the forefront. I feel like sometimes we're so stuck in like life, because life be life, and sometimes, and we don't take the time to like check our boxes before we get up in the morning. And I am the person, imagine me as your walking whiteboard when you come to see me. When things get very confusing, I help you work things out as much as I can. Now, I will say is I am not a therapist. I am working on getting my counseling certificate. So, but otherwise, I'm just all around girl that loves people. I was a medical assistant for about 8 years beforehand, and that love of people transitioned to me taking care of patients, me sticking patients, and then after a while, I knew my spirit needed more than just sticking them, I wanted to be an advocate for the patients that felt like they didn't have a voice. So I asked myself, what else can I do to help people that feel like they're unheard? So I took the time out with some patients and I sat there at their bed and I listened to them. Granted, I knew I had to be on a time crunch and they wonder why I was in a patient's room for more than 10 minutes. But hey, it's mostly some patients would be in the hospital longer than they thought they would, and they don't have anyone to talk to. And I would be the one sitting there. And then even before that, I did it with my friends, family members, and when they asked me for advice, I would end up having I would end up saying the right thing to say that came to my spirit. And it's been like that ever since. I've been doing this since in my 20s, and now I've decided to open shop and do this time.
It's beautiful.
Yes, indeed. And by the way, Sayen, have you ever been to Kenya?
I have not.
Well, we have a gentleman. And Brachelle, describe our friend.
Yes. We have a guest, well, a friend and a family member, Samuel, and he is in Kenya. They watch from the Kiberian slums of Kenya, and he's here for every show. He's sharing this with his entire community and all the kids that he supports to have an education and to feed day in and day out. So we love Samuel very, very much, and I'm excited that he gets to be in the show with you as well. He knows we got good people.
Hello.
Hey, Samuel.
And yes, and as a matter of fact, it was Brian's birthday last week, and on Saturday, which is where he gets all the kids together and he feeds them. The picture almost made Brachelle cry a little bit. There was a couple of tears, but because they had a cake that they made with "Happy Birthday, Kevin" on it, and then the kids all ate, and then they all had the cake, and that was the coolest thing ever.
Oh, that is beautiful. I love that.
Celebrating life.
Did they at least send you a piece?
They didn't. No,
like just send you a cupcake like through box? Like I'm just asking.
No, they sent me a picture. That's all I need. I'm not. I don't need to eat cake. But they sent me a picture of it, and they also sent us a picture of the kids because he feeds like 350 kids every Saturday, and they're all smiling, and they all got their little dishes in their hand. They're waiting patiently to eat, and it is just, there are some people in this world like yourself and like Samuel and like Brachelle that care, and they do everything within their power to help the people who can't necessarily help themselves. Some of these kids are orphaned. Some of them, their parents are and Kenya is a difficult country to live in. So it makes it really interesting. So I just like to shout out for him because he's doing the good work, and like you are. So it's great to see. So thank you for who you are, and Brachelle and him. Brachelle, do you have a question or a comment for
Yes,
Sayen? I
of
figured you
course.
might.
I have to know, what was it like to experience the shift and the change in yourself when you started to be able to help people for the first time?
So that is the part that's the most difficult in being a shadow work coach, when you have
Yeah.
to end up coaching yourself sometimes. Because
Yes.
some people's situations that you never thought that you would hear, like one young lady, I was I worked with her pro bono, and she was telling me about how her life, she never really had like a good footing because her mother hated her, and she would always try to put her down because of who she was. Because on one end, she was fearless, and she knew that in order to go out into the world, she had to strive and she had to do what she had to do. Her mother was always reserved, so she tried to keep her safe and keep her reserved as well. but sometimes it never works that way. And I think she went so as far as to keep her children from her by any means necessary. And I thought that was weird. And that I thought it was weird. And then I also thought it was a shame because I didn't even think we had people in that had that mindset. Because me personally, I grew up in the church. I'm thinking that everybody has the Lord's spirit in them. And then when you hear stories like that, it does break my heart a lot. And then it's like I have to go back into myself and say, don't get suckered into it. Not like out of I don't want to hear it. It's just out of make sure that you stay within your stone. You can be empathetic, but you can't be sympathetic because it doesn't benefit them if you're doing that, because it's not helping them. So I slowly but surely helped her gain her sense. And then sometimes even with clients like that, you end up shifting in your own way. So the same time that she was dealing with her motherly pains, I had to deal with mine because I was helping her move. And my mom is old school. So she would say, you need to have a 9-to-5 job in order to support your family. I thought that if God's providing for you, why stress over it? Why worry? So it's like two different dynamics working within each other. Some days it felt like I was working against myself. Other days it felt like I was just existing. But the main key in it, I always say that there's always a positive tomorrow, because you have a reset on life for the next day, because whatever happened yesterday stays there. You have the choice to bring it with you. So I always try to remind myself, remind my clients that, and make sure that they know that they have an opportunity to press the reset button every day.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's huge because it goes into talking about like emotional security. And if there's one thing that they could have maybe taught us throughout our life before we were 18 is how to even understand our emotions, let alone trying to control them. And it's not just children, it's full-grown adults and people you see that they're still working, they're thriving, they're doing any and everything they can, but they're so unhappy and they're maybe like they're just going straight all the time. They're on one level, or they're completely up and completely down, and they're just frustrated. And is that something that like how have you been able to help people even come to a recognition that to be thankful for their emotions so that they can allow them to pass through and teach them things, but also that it doesn't have to take over their life?
That's a great question. So one of the things that I try to do is, the first thing is I try to examine the person's background. I try to see exactly how they grew up, who were the influential people in their life, as close as from dad's side of the family, mom's side of the family. How were you treated? What are some things that you experienced that you wish you didn't? Traumas. Within the first session, I try to get a feel of the person, because I can hear from outside what other people can tell me about you, but I want you to tell me about you.
Yeah.
And when I talk about emotion, which is some things that I run into this a lot, where people try the avoidance, where when I ask them a question, they'll skip around it. And I'm like, okay, so let me try it a different way. If you could express an emotion without judgment, what would it be? I've had one person scream to the top of their lungs that they were pissed because they felt like they didn't get the love that they should have, all because they looked like a certain parent and that the other parent hated. Or I had one person that felt like they had to compete with another sibling because one was the favorite. So, and they would feel like, I feel like I'm wrong for being like that. And I'm like, no, it's okay to feel that emotion. I would love you to feel it. That way it doesn't bleed on anyone else.
Right.
Then once you're done, write it down and honor it and burn it. Because that symbolizes, by you burning it, that you understand that this emotion is a part of you. And that you also understand that your strength is you know how to face it. Your weakness is you keep it tucked in only because this is what you were taught.
Yeah.
So when I teach about emotions, I talk about like these are things just like water. You have to have it every single day. You can't walk around being mute all the time. At some point, someone, something, or some entity is going to be the breaking point. And that is literally Spirit's invitation to get you to do what's called your shadow work. And that type of trauma, for some people, it's reacted differently. Just like with the screaming for the person I was talking about, another person just sat there in silence because they never had anyone ask how they feel about a situation, because they've always been told what to do.
Yeah. Well, and when we come back from this break, that's what I want to talk about, is when you get into the work and you finally learn someone and you have those boundaries kind of fall to the ground that they've put up, those walls, and when you actually start asking them who they are and how much you get to learn from watching them experience and think about, well, who even am I, and kind of what that's like, because I know that that's huge and it can happen at any point of your life. You just have to have maybe somebody to say the right thing. So if you're okay with that, I'd love to do that when we come back.
I'd love to.
Perfect.
And we will be right back. And Rochelle, by the way, that was brilliant. Here's another point to ponder by Positive Talk Radio. One man lost everything he thought to find him: his job, his marriage, even his confidence. At rock bottom, he realized the one thing no one could ever take was his will to rise again. Sometimes life has to break us open so we can discover the strength we never knew was inside. Remember, your lowest point is not the end. It can become the very foundation of your greatest comeback. And you are listening to Positive Talk Radio, where stories of hope come alive. And welcome back to Positive Talk with Rochelle. That's her. She's taking the lead on this episode. And this is fun, isn't it, Rochelle?
Yeah, I love doing this, Kevin. Hence as to why I'm always here, no matter the odds. But Sayen, I have to know what it is like. I haven't really gotten to experience it yet, but Kevin's gotten to experience it with me. But what is it like for you to see people maybe see themselves for the first time?
The experience is different. It's a mixed emotion for me because when I started this, my initial slogan before it said deconstruct and reconstruct, it was being the person that you wish that you had. Because that was something that me personally that I experienced. I had a big sister, but she wasn't emotionally available. I had a mom, same thing, not emotionally available as she could have been. And then it's like when I was around my friends, I found out that they had the same problem. So when I see people crack open the egg that has kept them dormant for a while and they're able to express themselves with no judgment, I giggle because it took me to do it, the goofy kid to do it. But it also makes me feel like a proud mama because now this person gets to actually breathe air for the first time, like pure H2O. And they're able pure H2O, pure air, pure everything, because they get a chance to actually see what their likes and dislikes are.
Yeah, they realize that they can choose their identity. A lot of us don't. We think that other people and our experience get to choose that. So it's kind of a hard concept to come to terms with, and it's definitely a muscle. You probably even work on every day still to be able to work with these people, right?
Yes. I have to make sure for me personally that I'm able to leave it where it's left, because sometimes it can be a heavy burden being that person. And I know, like, if you were a therapist or a counselor, it's the same, could possibly be the same way. But it was like when you have a big heart like mine, sometimes you're like, you feel like you can fix every problem. But in actuality, you can't. That person has to walk their own path. They have to see their own things. And then sometimes it's not always not walking with them. It's just giving them the tools to be able to walk, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, no, completely, because then you're allowing them to help themselves. If you tried to fix everything, you would take that away from them, and then they wouldn't know who they were because they're not living by their own purpose and their own words. So I think that's amazing. Kevin, don't you?
I do. And it's kind of like you can take a horse to water, but you can't make them drink. They
Yes.
have to do that on
Amen to that.
their own. And Sayen, I wanted to ask you because you worked with a lot of people that have got relationship difficulties with their mother or their sister and stuff. Why do you think that families end up getting constructed that way to where they don't take care of each other and they don't even there may be love there, but it's not they're not showing love to somebody and then they end up feeling unloved and somehow they end up eventually talking to you because they want to experience life in a different way. Why do you think we put ourselves through that?
I want to answer this in two parts because my brain went to 5 different directions. Um,
That's me
so we
every
could,
day.
oh God. Okay. So the first part of the question is why do we feel like is it why do we feel like love is a guiding factor but not really present?
Well,
Yeah.
why do we feel or why do people treat us, people who love us, our mothers, our sisters, and they claim to love us, but they treat us in a way that that tells us that we are unloved, and then we have to go about relearning how to be loved when that wasn't part of our existence before, and so we have no experience of that. Does that make sense, Michelle?
Yeah,
It
because you have
does.
to, it's like you have to learn toxic love and then healthy love. And it can go both ways for sure.
So I can okay, I'm gonna go ahead and touch that one. So most of the time that I've seen, and from like I said, from my personal experience, it usually comes from a state of fear. Because just like when you're a toddler and and your parents, they watch out your every step and your every move, and they make sure
Mhm.
that you don't touch the stove if it's hot, or they make sure you don't like trip down the stairs. That same fear still carries over in adulthood. But sometimes for some people, their emotions aren't exactly there. So we get the sense of, okay, so I see myself in this child. How would
Mm,
my parents should have did for me in order to save me?
mhm,
So I'm going to project my fears onto this child. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to figure out where I see I can nitpick wherever they're doing wrong, something that I don't like, or something, or maybe even a spark in a child that you wish that they had,
mm,
um, that you wish that you had when you were a child, sorry. And then it ends up being that child that you have ends up having that spark, and you're afraid that somebody might dash it out. So you try to catch them from that.
mm,
But majority of it usually comes from fear of rejection for them, fear of rejection of now the parent has to react now they have to actually show love in a different way, and the only thing that can say is like you'll remember it when you get older, or you'll learn
yeah.
from this when you get older, when you have your kids you'll
Yep.
understand it then.
Oh, I've heard that a ton.
Right.
Um,
And
and
it's
that,
go ahead,
but that's, a,
sorry.
I'm sorry, I was just gonna say, it just, it's, we as human beings all need help to become who we want to be, but some of us are so immersed in the story that they've told themselves and that their friends and family have told them, and stuff that, or former boyfriends or husbands or whatever, that they are so immersed in that they can't get through it. And so then they transfer that to other people.
Kevin, can I add to that?
Yes, you
And just
may.
making sure, Sayen, are you still here? We might have had a connection issue. I want to ask her how much of that has to do with forgiveness.
I'm here.
Oh, perfect,
Sorry,
perfect.
I had to adjust my
No, no,
microphone.
you're good. I'd have to know what Kevin was saying is so huge, because how much of your work really all comes down to forgiveness of someone, maybe things they blame themselves for that they couldn't even be guilty for because they didn't know any better, or for another person to say, hey, I understand now why they are like that and why they're not able to show love in the way that they think they do. Just forgiveness overall has got to be huge, right?
Right, it does. That's also it's a tricky thing when it comes to forgiveness. On one hand, the person's like, I want to forgive them. However, it's hard because they, what was the best way I can explain it?
Like
Forgiveness,
they'd have to accept it.
yes. That's the part that gets that's why I say it makes it tricky. On one
Yeah.
hand, yes, forgiveness, they say it's not for them, it's for you. But at the same time, it's like you're so used to carrying that
Mhm.
you don't know what it's like if you was to let it go. So
Yes.
it gets it's heavier just by saying I forgive you just once.
Mhm.
But you also have to think about the grace that comes behind it.
Mhm.
Being able to understand that forgiveness is the one step that I see a couple of my clients heavy on. One person example, I'm trying to make sure that I say it right. One client I had, her mother would her adopted mother would always talk about how she was like her biological mother. Not going to do anything for yourself. You're just going to be having babies. You're just going to be doing this. But during the time where I'm like, you're going to have to forgive her someday. I don't know when, but you're going to have to. She's like, oh no, I don't think I'll ever be able to do that. And I asked her why. She told me because she was like, she should have never talked to me the way I did. I would never do that to my children that I have now. But it wasn't until she died that she forgave her, because she knew that she didn't hear her in her ear.
Yeah.
And then sometimes that's a little it's a little too late even to ask them for forgiveness or even to give it. But the release is necessary. Does that make sense? Am I making sense here?
100%. That is so well said.
And the issue is, and correct me if I'm wrong, and help me with this.
Okay.
Excuse me. Because the issue isn't forgiving somebody to their face or who they are so that you have that interaction. It's forgiving the actions that they took, and understanding that they may not have had control over those actions. And so by forgiving them of that, you're then understanding what caused them, that has nothing to do with you, that
Right.
has everything to do with them, as
Right.
Mhm.
far as why they treated you that way. So you're forgiving the actions. And if that person isn't changing, you don't necessarily have to forgive them as a human being, but you have to forgive the act that they did and recognize that you had nothing to do with it. Is that but Michelle, did I make any sense of that at all?
Yeah, no, that's powerful, Kevin, because it doesn't make it about them, and then it also doesn't make it exactly about you. It's just the situation. It's just a situation. It's not something that needs to be blamed for a reason, right? We always have to have a reason for everything, but I do believe what you said, Cyan, is clear that if no matter how long you hold on to these things and you won't forgive someone, especially when it comes to being a parent, whether you think you are or not, you may be causing more harm for the future of yourself and your children by holding on to it than just that split second of just accepting it for what it was, and not putting all these emotions around it, just for your own sake of feeling a little lighter. So I do agree.
And I also think, and I'm going to chime into that right now,
Yeah.
you also have to consider, and I know some people are like, I don't care how they feel. You also have to consider the mindset that they were in that moment.
Yes.
What was the emotion attached to whatever the behavior that they did? And then you
Yeah.
look at that and you try to see, okay, so this is not the person. It is the person that's acting out the behavior, but they're only acting out of whatever emotion that was attached to that behavior to begin with.
Yep.
So it's not that it's not just that you're forgiving the person, but you're also forgiving the actions and setting the bound. And some people, this is where boundaries start to get set in.
Yes.
When they know how they want to be talked to, how they want to be, how they want to be presented for. Like I tell some people, I was like, there's a difference between a wall and a fence. A fence, you can see who's coming over and you can tell them to go away. A wall, you have to take a guess. And if you have to take a guess, then obviously there's work to be done here. So that's just something I usually run through with any
Yeah,
client
let's
that
talk
I have.
about that more when we come back.
Yeah.
Indeed. And Rochelle, Sayen's website, if you please.
Yes, Sayen's website is shadowcornerlifecoaching.com. It is the most beautiful and serene feeling to look at this. And it just feels like maybe somebody who could bring you peace and provide somebody that they can trust and lean into a little bit on finding themselves. So go check that out. It's absolutely beautiful. And then we'll be back to talk about boundaries with Sayen.
And being kind. We'll be right back.
You're listening to Brushwood Media Network, the best in syndicated talk, news, and entertainment shows.
The strength of staying kind from your friends at Positive Talk Radio. Kindness is not weakness. It takes real strength to stay kind in a world that often rewards anger, ego, and control. Being kind means choosing to act from your values, not your wounds. It means showing grace even when no one's watching. But kindness doesn't mean being passive. It doesn't mean letting people take advantage of your time, your energy, or your peace. You can be kind and still say no. You have a soft heart with firm boundaries. The strongest people I know are the ones who choose compassion without losing themselves. They've been hurt. They've been tested. And still, they choose to love and lead and to lift others anyway. Kindness is not about pleasing everybody. It's about honoring who you are and how you treat others, even when it's hard. So stay kind, stay human, and stay strong. And always remember this, be kind to one another because each other's all we've got. And welcome back to Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald and Rochelle. She's right there. That's her. That's her. I've heard rumors about her, and she is there, and she's perfect in every way. And would you like to reintroduce our guest for the second half of the show, please?
Yes, we have Sayen here with us today. She is one of the most amazing people I've sincerely met on this earth. And to be a person with a big heart and understand that you can only do so much to help people and also have to let them fly and build their wings is a very, very powerful thing and brings so much guidance in ourselves. But Sayen, before we left, you were talking about how you compared boundaries to fences. I think that's a beautiful analogy. Can you break it down a little bit more and tell us how you help people work through this?
Okay. So if you've ever been inside of a building, let's put it in this way. If you've been inside of a building and you go to one end of the wall and then the other end, like say you have two offices and there's nothing but a concrete wall between you. If you was to knock on the other side of that wall, could you hear anything? Could you see anything? If someone was screaming on the other end, could you hear them? That is what happens when you get traumatized. That wall stays up until you feel as if that everybody around you is gone. And it's only you, your thoughts, and everything that's attached to it.
Yeah.
This is the part where you get suffocated as a person, and also where your core values start to be reevaluated. Because this is also when your, how do they say, the monkey mind starts to take place.
Mm-hmm.
And you know that if you can't talk to that person on the other side of the wall, and you can't scream at them and they can't hear you, that's what you're doing with the people when you're not emotionally available, when you choose to have certain boundaries. That not only pushes everyone away, but it also pushes opportunities. And it can easily be something as simple as being on the McDonald's show. Those type of walls keep you away from valuable people, places, and things that you could be going to.
Mm-hmm.
Now, let's switch gears a little bit. You've seen a fence. Can you hear everything on the other side of that fence?
Yes.
If you was to take a step and go over, can you see on the other side of that fence?
Yes.
So you've constructed something to where it's like, if you see someone that is not positive, not coming in with the best energy, you have the right to decline them, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So imagine the same structure of just like your concrete walls, replace it with your fence. You can't hear your loved ones on the other side. You can't hear how much they love you or anything else because you've already locked yourself away from the world. One thing that I try to teach my clients in general is like, boundaries are like fences. When you see what's coming, you know how to react the right way. But if you consistently make walls, you have to guess. And that's when subjective thinking comes in. Like, oh, I think they don't like me. Or maybe I should leave. Maybe this is not a good time for me to be here. Oh, wait, what if my clothes don't look right? Is there a stain on my shirt? Like this is where the monkey mind starts to give you things to worry about. And stress comes in. When we talk about boundaries, we talk about being able to look at things not through a glass ceiling and know that you can break through them, but you can always restructure the ceiling. Does that make sense?
Yeah, 100%.
So when I talk to clients about it, I'm like, okay, so when you talk to someone, can you automatically feel like they're not your cup of tea, or do you assume that? That concrete wall represents the assumptions that you've made that keeps you isolated from everything. The fences represent your boundaries, the things that you stand on, and they're attached to your core values. They're the things that keep you on the straight and narrow and remind you exactly who you are. And when I asked them about that, the first thing they're like, well, I never thought about that before. I was like, well,
yeah. The time is now.
You have to think relationship. When it comes to certain people, how do you feel? What's the first thing that reacts? Is it your eyes? Is it your stomach? Do you get queasy? Do you feel like you don't want to be here? And check emotion. Where is that emotion stemming from? Where is it coming from? Is it from a place of fact or fiction? And it's not you questioning who you're like over questioning yourself. It's just you analyzing exactly what is the root of this cause. What's the cause root to this reaction? So when I talk about boundaries and I teach people how to put boundaries up, I tell them, look, there's nothing wrong with having boundaries, but healthy boundaries looks like making sure that not only do you stand up for yourself, but you don't have to use cussing to do it.
Yeah.
Come out. Now it may come out sometimes. I've had that. But you're basically standing stern on what you know that you will and will not tolerate as an individual and as a person in the relationship. Because I've always preached that your relationship with others is a social contract. Whatever is written on that contract, that's what needs to go by. Unless things are talked over and refigured, you cannot, and I repeat, you cannot overstep that contract, because a lot of things can be cut from that point. That's how relationships get killed, when we don't reevaluate these things.
Yes. Yeah, you saying reevaluating is huge, because when you're mentioning these fences, one thing I've learned from Kevin is you can choose how tall your fence is. You can choose how thick it is. You can choose how far out or how close it is to you, and where that sits for certain people and certain things, and why. And that's okay for them to change based off of your experiences too. Otherwise, you're just consistently fighting yourself all the time. Kevin, you experienced me doing that for a really long time, didn't you?
Oh, goodness.
My friend Rochelle wanted to control everything at one point because she didn't feel like she had control of anything.
Yep.
And so she was fighting to control everything in her life, even things that she had no business controlling because she couldn't, and stuff. So when she stepped back and realized that she can only control what it can control and not what everybody else does, then that lightened your burden quite a little bit, didn't it?
Yeah, it helped me in so many ways, not just with myself, but with other people, because then I wasn't so absorbed and so controlled by them in what they were saying and how they were feeling and why they were living the way they were. I knew that if I had more control of me, that's where I was actually making the difference by being the example through them, because words can only kind of go so far at certain times, and they can also be the reason for everything of your relationship. So it just helped me kind of to slow down and look at myself. And also one thing that this helped me with, and you probably do this with your people, Sayen, is helping them, like when you evaluate, you do the same thing with other people. Be curious about them. Like when you meet somebody, when I got on this path, I thought I had to tell everybody, like, this is why I'm changing and this is this, and I had to speak about it, but they couldn't understand, and it was almost like I was trying to convince myself. And so when I came to terms with that, it helped me learn people for who they were, not who I wanted them to be or saw in them. And that brings you so much peace, even if it hurts a little bit too.
I have an exercise for you.
Okay.
If you ever get a chance.
Okay.
When you find yourself consumed by these types of things, on a piece of paper, I want you to write priorities and secondary. These two sections represent something. On one side, the priorities represents you, what that you have control over, what you deal with on a daily basis in your life, your personal life, and everything in between. On the second side, where it says secondary, these are the priorities of people's stuff that you picked up.
Mm.
So you write down the things that you picked up. Oh, I told my friend that I would go ahead and I would help her with this, but you look at your priorities list, but I have a class at 4:30, so I don't know how I'm going to be able to do this.
Yes.
And you have to be completely honest with yourself, because this priorities list has kept me out of a lot of trouble. Only because, like, for me personally, I had the habit of overbooking myself, especially when I had a whole group of friends and they're like, I really need help. And it's like, And then I look back at the list of the things I said I was supposed to do the first morning, and none of it got done because I was too busy on my secondary list. Now, granted, this thing can also be put in different perspective. Like, instead of it just being primary and secondary, it could be what belongs to me and what belongs to them. Because what it's doing is helping you shift your mindset on, like, what is the things that I have to do for myself before I can pour into this person. That's what the list is for. And I know that we love the people that we love them so much, and we don't ever want to see them in pain. But you don't know if you're preventing them from passing the test that they're supposed to be under.
Yeah.
If you take the test from them and take it for them, are they really learning anything? So you have to, when you think of the primary and the secondary list, the exercise, I want you to think about that.
Okay. Yeah. And don't let me be the only one. If you're listening to this anytime down the road, please do this too, because it can be very, very effective, and it's helpful for other people who you love. I just have to reframe that and say that again, because a lot of times we think we're helping them and we're holding them back, and we do it to ourselves. So we need to take a quick break. I'll let Kevin take us out, and then Kevin, I'll let you ask a question.
Gee whiz, thanks.
You're welcome.
Yeah, and I do have a good question to ask you, but we're going to take this quick break. We'll be right back in 34 seconds, so don't anybody go anywhere. Here's another point to ponder by Positive Talk Radio. In a dark room, a single candle was lit. That tiny flame chased away the shadows, filling the space with hope. Your courage, your kindness, and your light may seem small at times, but it can change someone's entire world. Never underestimate the power you already carry inside. Even the smallest flame can ignite a fire that transforms lives. You are listening to Positive Talk Radio, where stories of hope come alive. And welcome back to Positive Talk with Brachelle, and my name is Kevin, and Sayen is with us. And you know, Sayen, I gotta tell you, I learned this valuable lesson when I was driving a bus in Seattle. And it was a 60-foot bus, and I may have had as many as 30, 40, 60, 80 people on the bus at one time. And early on, when I ran into a homeless person or somebody who was not leading their life according to my expectations, I would say, you know, you could do this and you could do that and stuff in my attempt to try and help them. And then I realized that they were walking their own journey through life, and they needed to experience the things that they were going through because that was part of their journey. Does that make sense? Or should I have taken a more active role in trying to change what they were doing?
No, that does make sense. And trust me, you were not the only one driving that bus theoretically.
No,
that sounds like the beginning of my career.
Yeah, no, I had lots of help doing that, and I had somebody that had been a bus driver for a long time, and I was saying, why do these people do that? And he said, because it's their choice. You don't need to have any skin in the game unless they decide they want help and they ask you for it, and then it's appropriate to then provide that as best you can for that. But some people decide that that's how that's what they want to do, and that's how they want to live. And that's got to be okay with us, isn't it?
It does. Whether we know it or not, and then this is something I learned from my grandmother years ago. You are not God over people. So stop acting as such. Your rights is not always their rights, and your wrongs are not always their wrongs because you didn't sign off on it. It was not on your title or paperwork. What she was trying to tell me, because I was a teenager trying to help my friends and I was getting confused, was she's like, you're not the author of the book that they're writing and for their life. You have to make sure that you're responsible for your story, because if you're helping them write theirs, yours will never get written.
And when you say that, I'm thinking, Sayen, too, about how that guides us when we talk to ourselves, and how that has to change that as well, right?
That also has to change. Because like I said, that inner critic does not silence itself just because you say, I'm not going to talk to you anymore. They come at the most unopportune times. And sometimes we have to check them at the door.
Yes.
Or lock the door, whichever one comes first. The one thing that I do know when it comes down to this topic that I know most of is, just like Kev said, you can bring a horse to water, but you can't make them drink it. But I also had a guest on my podcast that made a very valid point about that. He said that there's a difference between decisions and choices. There's an energy behind each one. And he said the choices is something that you decide for your own volition and how you're going to live your life. Decisions are things that you feel like you have no choice. And you're just going just because you feel like that's the only option. And when you put yourself in that mindset, you will always run into the wall. You have to make choices, not decisions. And make sure that they're the right ones that caters to you. Will people be burned along the way? Yes. There's not a person in this godforsaken earth that has not got butt hurt because you chose yourself.
Yep.
And it's going to be like that. It is unavoidable. If you're trying to avoid it, I'm sorry to inform you for the broadcast in the back. It's not going to happen. You're going to always hurt somebody's feelings. You're going to break their glass, break their face, some type of way. You just have to learn with the choices that you make that was supposed to be best for you.
Yeah.
And to not allow other people to influence or to change those choices because they're putting a guilt trip on you because of their things and what they have going on, that they're saying, you can't do that because you can't make that choice because I don't want you to, right? Or
Right.
How do you help them tell somebody in a respectful and loving manner that they don't accept that?
I understand, the quote goes like this. I understand that by your choices, this is the result of what happened to you. Mine might be different. And I hope that you respect my wishes. And this is the nice way of saying it. I could tell you the other way, but hey, I told my mother I'd behave on radio. So the nicest way I can just put it is, as much as we want the opinion of those we love in every single thing that we do, or people that feel like they have a leg in our race, the only thing you can say is respectfully, I understand that by your choices, this was the end result. Maybe my choice is different. I'm going to try it this way. And if I get that result, then that's what it is. If I don't get that result, then that is also what it is. But the important thing is that I chose, and I didn't choose because you told me to.
And you're taking responsibility for that choice. And the really freeing thing is, you can then, if that choice for whatever reason that you made doesn't work out exactly the way you wanted to, you can reassess and make a different choice.
Right. And you'll have the opportunity to do so because you had the final say on that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that can be really freeing, can't it?
It can. It can allow you in so many ways to get slowly but surely take pieces of yourself and your power back. And I know a lot of times in the spiritual culture, they talk about taking their power back. I'm going to break that down to you. There's one person that says, I call my power back from every time, space, entity, emotion. They talk about that because it's like sometimes some of us can be stuck in certain time periods, and they feel like no matter what choice they make, something is always going to be negative. But it doesn't have to be that way. The thing that you can do is analyze things better, Look at all your options, look at all your resources, and then make the decision then. You don't have to be in a rush to make that choice. You can always make a different choice and do better.
Yeah. Most of the time, I think when people do that too, that they see even maybe the person who is very frustrated and confused by your way of changing or being different or deciding and realizing that you do have choice, it also kind of gives them that power. Because whether they like it or not, they have that experience that you're a part of as well. And you got to give what you could of that by taking ownership of, hey, this is my life and this is where I'm at, without being rude, because that's really easy to
Yeah.
do sometimes with certain people. But it just kind of breaks the ice a little bit without there having to be conflict. If you say that to somebody, like, what are they going to say back? It's going to make them reflect, and reflection is everything, right?
Yeah, it is. That's why I put when I say in the beginning, I was like, you can use I understand, because in that moment you're validating the person's feelings.
Yes.
Or sorry,
Yeah.
you're validating that their fear for you is very real.
Yeah.
But you're also validating to them that I was like, I understand that you would like me to do it this way, but I want to see for myself how the road goes if I make this choice.
Yeah.
And it's not always going to be cut and dry like that. Sometimes you have to say, look, we are in two different spaces right now. In your space, it's doom and gloom, and you don't see any positive way out. In my space right now, I see endless possibilities. And I know that you're going to get there one day, but I'd rather take the choice of the possibilities than yours. And it's not you being rude, it's just you stating the fact of what you already know, what you feel. And it's also piggybacking off of the facts that you have within yourself.
Yes.
And by the way, we've been talking with Sayen, and she made a choice not too long ago to start a podcast. And so the podcast is out there, and you can find it where you can find most podcasts. And the name of the podcast is
Shadow Corner Podcast. So for those sorry.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
So Shadow Corner the podcast, to break it down to you so that way you don't go skipping over everything. The first season, you get to learn not only about me, but you also get to learn about the things that have happened to me and what I have learned through those nuggets of wisdom. I hope that by listening to my story, you make your own personal choice to do what you feel is best for you. And I do, in that first season, talk about like family dynamics, social contracts, the best way to set boundaries. I also think that there's one episode that I noticed that a lot of people love is the burnout episode that I done, where I was talking about from an actual place. At that time, I was just starting my business and I was completely burnt out because I remember it was one point I stayed up for 7 hours working on my website, working on how I wanted everything to be laid out. And then in turn, when it came time to the day for me to record, I just didn't want to. And it got so exhausting. And I just started to think about all the things that were happening in my life then and everything else, and it became so heavy. So I'm probably not doing the episode justice, but I do encourage you to go and listen to the episode so that way you can see what I mean.
Perfect.
Well, I want to thank you for being here, Brashelle, and why don't you have the honor of taking us out?
Well, thank you, Sayen, today for your time. It's truly been amazing to sit and listen to you and your story, and it's inspiring, it's encouraging. And yes, if you're curious on more with Sayen Gates, go to the website shadowcornerlifecoaching.com. There's books, there's a story, there's multiple options for meeting a coach that works best with you and different services. And of course, all the contact information. But thank you again for being here. It's been an honor. And we'd love to keep you a part of our world and see where you're at, even if it's in another year, and continue on with the growth together.
Thank you. I appreciate you allowing me to be on your show. I also want to mention that I am a co-author in a book called Breaking the Silence, Volume 3. And I published a part of my story in that book. And it's going to be released on Amazon September 25th. So I encourage those that it's not just me also in that book, it's other inspiring people that have learned how to break through and tell their story and voice their truth. So I truly encourage that you pick it up. It's Breaking the Silence, Volume 3. And I just hope to stay connected with you guys.
Yes, of course. And thank you to all of our listeners. We love you. We will be back tomorrow, so don't get too bored without us.
I just love that. So thank you, Sayen. Have a great day, everybody. Thank you for being part of Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald, where stories inspire and voices remind us of what truly matters. May today's conversation give you hope, courage, and a reason to keep moving forward. And just remember, till next time, be kind to one another because each other's all we've got.